Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield, the host of Manny Talks Shooting, and welcome to another episode. This is the shooting podcast where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you like this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Talks Shooting. And without further ado, let's get to this episode. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Manny Talks Shooting, the shooting podcast where I talk to anyone and everyone I want to within the shooting industry. But first, let's plug today's sponsor. Today's sponsor, this show is brought to you by Go Fast, Don't Suck. So get your match jerseys, go get your t-shirts, your memes, your stickers, your dry fire targets. If you have a match and you need banners, hit up Bill too, because that's what's behind me. So go get a banner. But anyway, without further ado, we've got a returning repeat guy from Utah, Robert Wyatt. If you paid attention, last week's show was Robert. So it's bonus because it's fun.
Apparently people are just cruising for, just to be upset at things, because apparently that's what I do anymore.
I mean, if we don't upset him, it's kind of half the battle, right?
It does seem to be that way.
And then we got his other left-handed brother with the CZ all the way from California, Mr. John Bautista, who likes to wear a mask inside by himself.
Only yeah, this is an audio podcast, dude. Nobody can see your mask. Take it off.
Yeah.
There, it's off.
Yeah.
Happy?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we're all good. But anyways, guys, we're actually just got home from Area 5, so we're actually going to talk about it. Because it needs to be addressed, and I think you might actually enjoy the hearing about the hardest match in USPSA in 2022.
I think dude, it's probably the hardest match in USPSA in easy a decade. I mean, it was boy, oh boy, they put whoever designed all the stages. I think Eric Steiner said that they must have had a discount on tuxedo targets at the Piggly Wiggly, because holy crap, they put a lot of them out there.
Yeah, I think.
And don't forget their big poppers were on repair too, so everything was just mini poppers, all the mini poppers.
I mean, if you want to go out and set up large poppers in the back of the bay, be my guest. Mini ones are easy because you can carry 2 at a time.
Yeah, okay. I mean, certainly that was a consideration. I'm certain that's exactly what the match director, stage designers all had in mind. So let's just make it easy to build.
Besides the fact that we only have 4 large poppers and 30 minis.
Do you think that, is that actually because of the limitations of your bays, just the depth of the bay, and so you're basically just trying to create technical difficulty with the limited amount of bays that you actually have?
It's probably a little bit of, if anyone's not been to this awesome range, it's got 10, the events bays have 10 bays. It's kind of like, if you've been to Frostproof, they're back to back to back to back in one line. And only on bay 1 through 5 we can use steel, because there's a written long agreement with the landowners on the other side of the road that we can't use steel on 6 through 10. Okay,
we actually have to take a minute and talk about this. Number one, it's a gorgeous range. It's absolutely amazing. And so mega props to the guys who actually take care of everything out there. But the backside, and I don't know if it's the south or the north, I kind of got turned around on the geography of it, but basically the backside of the events bays, the berm goes up and then it goes down, and there's literally a road sitting right there. You can sit there be shooting, and you can hear cars whipping past.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes a lot more sense now why people in Detroit are used to just drive-by shootings, because it just happens at their gun ranges.
Robert, I was scared for you, man, because when you're getting frustrated kind of midday, you kind of had that, I'm going to throw this piece of brass or this magazine over the berm, and I'm like, wait a minute, there might be cars rolling on the other side of this berm.
They'll learn.
Yep. They'll get one of Robert's 176 CZ Shadow 2 mags.
I only have 175 now because one of them did go over. Thank you very much. But no, that was weird to me. It was the weirdest thing, because in Utah, we have our bays, and there's this 3-mile exclusion zone around everything. And we had a bunch of development that came into the industrial area, and they moved a little bit closer, and the state came in and made us build our berms up basically another 15 feet tall just to compensate for it. Down in southern Utah at the Sups range, that was the same exact problem, where they had to actually turn all of their bays because you had crazy landowners saying that people were firing bullets into their backyard, and they would, as evidence, they would bring completed cartridges. Yeah. And it's like, ma'am, I'm sorry to tell you this, but that is not how any of this works.
Exactly. It doesn't work like that. Now, it's definitely interesting with how our bays are set up, but yeah, the road's right there. It's convenient if like there's an emergency, because like there's that, if you did notice, there's that gate right there by the events bays. It goes out to the road so EMS can come in.
Oh, that's smart.
But if you didn't know, which there's also a school right outside the range too.
Is there really?
Yeah, so
Really?
yeah, so if you're leaving the range, like you're pulling out the main drive, you take a right, you follow the curvy road, that's a school.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's kind of wedged in between a school and a road.
man, you guys in Michigan roll hard, dude.
wow.
Well, yeah, I don't know how they put it there, but it's a beautiful facility.
It really is, man. I swear,
You guys are
Alex,
lucky.
like it. I had never been to Michigan before, and coming out to that range, I mean, because we travel all over and shoot all these matches, and I gotta say, it was easily one of the top ranges that we've been to. It's for us in the West, it is like Santa Claus and Christmas to shoot on grass and sand, because all we ever shoot on is like hard packed clay and rock. And so you come out there and there's green stuff around, and we're like, what is all this stuff? I've never seen this stuff before, especially John, where, I mean, he lives in a concrete jungle.
Well, first of all, Robert, your poor old knees felt fantastic because you're impacting sand instead of the Utah clay, which is
Oh,
amazing.
yeah, and you don't run around the bays wondering if you're going to roll an ankle on the various rocks. You certainly don't worry about getting fragged by all the rocks and stuff. I mean, in Utah, if you haven't been fragged by something, then you haven't been there long enough in the day, because guaranteed it's going to happen.
Oh yeah. And did you also notice that there was no like wall bases anywhere?
Oh, no.
We drive
Yeah.
those into the ground.
What?
Yeah. So they essentially, it's like a big old nail spike. So it's got probably like the 2-inch like piping around it. So the wall leg goes in.
Is that your, what did you guys call it? What did you call it? Like the Wop nailer?
The Whopper knocker.
Whopper
The
knocker.
Whopper knocker. Whopper
Yeah.
knocker.
It's such a great name.
Yeah, it's just the big old bar that fits in, and then you got the weight, and then you're slamming the weight down, and it just drives it to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I
How
think
hard is it to get those things back
Oh,
out
wow.
when you need to?
Depends. Like you can get a crowbar, or you can just take like it's easier to use the crowbar.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're easy to pull out by hand if you have a hammer and just tap them loose. But like
Oh.
when we tear down eventually, it's gonna be a pain in the ass because it'll be dry.
Well, if you have a hard time getting them out, if you can't pull them out, the easiest thing to do, I learned this by having to remove ground rods, ironically, is they will unscrew. So if you get like a pair of vice grips and you crank it down there hard enough, you can actually just spin them out of the ground. And so that actually works. And it works exceptionally well. It takes a lot of time, but you're just overcoming the friction of the rod inside the ground. But it's one way to do it. But yeah, so I mean, such a gorgeous range.
My only complaint about our range is how far it is from the clubhouse to the bays.
Did they do that on purpose, or was that just incidental?
That was incident because it's originally a shotgun club. Like
Sure.
it's what it was. It was a shotgun club, through and through. But then they had the upper bays. They had those, and then when Walt got serious into the club, he was able to, he was able to save the club by bringing in USPSA.
Really?
Wow. Bless that man.
So that
Bless
they
that
saved,
man.
and we built the events bays and held major matches and saved the club.
That's awesome. I mean, USPSA and the people of USPSA do something good. I mean, shocker that we actually can do that once in a while.
Yeah, so we were hoping they bought land by the road. Well, like by the drive on your way in. If you're coming into the range on the right side, kind of behind between the driveway and like the guy who owns the storage facility.
Okay.
We actually own some of that land, and we're trying to figure out what to do with it. We were trying to think about adding more bays, but I don't think the shotgun guys would let us.
Do you think do you think there's a possibility in the long term of somehow being able to put enough bays into that match that you could possibly host a nationals level match?
If we were able to do what we want to do, yes.
What you told me on last week's show, but what is your shooting season like? I mean, can you guys be effectively shooting in October, or is it like, we're done?
We shoot typically into the end of October, at least here. So yeah, we could.
So you totally could do a nationals match.
Yeah, it'd have to be probably about the same time it is in Cameo, not Cameo, Talladega.
Okay.
But yeah, it'd be conducive.
I mean, it's a nice place. It's easy to get into. I mean, Detroit is major, and it was, what did we figure, John? It was like a half hour, 45 minutes to the airport, and
about an hour in total.
Was it?
In total?
With traffic, yeah, construction, yeah.
So, and then there's plenty of places to stay around there.
Yep, you just can't stay in town because there's no room there's only one hotel actually in Brooklyn.
So we stayed in that. I guess that actually would be your limiting factor, is that we stayed in Adrian.
Right, yeah, you can stay in Adrian or Jackson. Jackson's not terrible to stay in. That's only like 30 minutes from the range.
Yeah. And I think 30 to 45 minutes from a range as far as accommodations is probably your outside. If you push an hour, that's when it starts to get a little bit rough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'd say even 30 minutes is on the high side of time if you depending on where in Jackson you're staying. So, but most of the hotels are by the highway, so it's not too terrible.
Right.
But yeah, so Robert, you came from wonderful Utah, and John came from Kami, California. but John had no troubles getting here.
Because I was smart.
John was delayed as well. I was just delayed even worse. So
my delay wasn't risking. By the way, passengers, we don't have a pilot. We're gonna try to find a guy at 10 o'clock. We might be in town probably at 3. We'll see.
Yep. And they're like, really? You guys just delayed us 2 hours. Now you're gonna delay us another 3 hours. I checked Google Maps, and I literally could have driven to Detroit in the time that it took them to find a pilot. And this is not the first time this has ever happened. I mean, last year we were going to Area 8, and we flew into Chicago Midway, got grounded because of rain. And
we didn't know better.
Nope. So, lessons learned, never touch Chicago. I like Chicago. It's pretty. It's a gorgeous place. They got the Cubs.
I mean, that's the only, they've got the Cubs, the Blackhawks, but gun violence all the time. I don't know. I don't want to go to get shot.
Well, I mean, that's why you have the guns with you.
Well, true, but doesn't matter how many guns I have with me. I still can't take them there.
Every state is constitutional carry if you're not a bitch.
Well, true. Well, that is true.
I don't know. In California.
I don't. There's some of those back east states. I'm like, I think I'm a bitch.
Yes. Yeah, you just got to. It's such a pain, especially when Area 7's all the way up in Maine this year.
Yeah.
So you got to go through the blockade.
Yeah, we're not flying through there, man. Like Robert and I, the thought of us going through New York and Newark is like people thinking about going to Cameo. It's the reverse problem. Like we do not want to be caught dead with by the way, your flight's been moved over to JFK, and Robert and us are sitting there going like, okay, so who's going in the cuffs? Who's going in the cuffs first? You or me? Who's getting in the squad car? You and me?
Yeah. Rule number 1 is never take your guns with a layover in New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that happened to Wansik once, where they tried to, and poor Wansik was sort of kind of freaking out because he's like, I know the gun laws, and I'm going to get in big trouble. And the ticketing agent didn't know any better. She was just trying to get him to take it or something like that. It was, I don't. That's a bad position to be in. I don't wish that on anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the last incidents or case I've heard about New York and guns was Anderson. Anderson decided to take his open guns for a class in New York, and he was just like, "Uh-oh, why did I do this?"
Mm-hmm.
Not worth it.
There's a lot of good people in New York, but Nobody really wants to be the first test case for Bruin in New York, really, when it
Yes.
comes down to. But admittedly, somebody's going to have to be, but nobody wants to be the first case.
Yeah.
And so, but it was fun. It was fun. I mean, once you finally get in, because we got in about 2 o'clock.
2:27.
Is it 2:27? Okay,
Yep,
so
it's going to be on the vlog.
okay. Yeah, we're trying to make this vlog of all of our travels. It may or may not come together. It's kind of crunchy, but if it comes together, it'll be good.
The left-handed CZ boys.
Yes,
The Mormon brothers.
The Mormon
The
brothers.
Mormon brothers.
The Mormon brothers.
That's appropriate name. There we go.
Yeah, and so that'll be good. That'll be good. But we got in like 2. Finally got the bags. It's the craziest thing. You ship these bags, you ship your guns, and they're not supposed to come out on the carousel. Like under no circumstances are they are supposed to come through like the oversized baggage. They're supposed to be an attendant, check your ID, all that sort of stuff. And the amount of times that the guns just show up on the carousel is disturbing to say the least. But it happens all the frickin' time. And I've gotten to the point where every single time it comes out, I grab the bag, I walk over to the oversized ticket booth, and I hand my license to the ticket agent. I'm like, this thing wasn't supposed to come out here. Do you still want to see my ID? And they're like, oh, well, that never happens.
Salty
like,
Mormon.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
I mean,
I've got like $5,000 to $6,000 in a gun box, and you want me to not be salty? Do your job.
So PSA for anyone traveling or shooting service announcement. For anyone who's on this podcast who's thinking about flying, Robert's experiences are Robert's experiences because he has terrible luck. Now, for the rest of us who doesn't have this luck, if there's one thing you really need to do is if you have an Apple product, Apple tags. If you have a Samsung product, GPS tags. By GPS tagging your gun bag and whatever check-in luggage that you have, we are sitting in the airport, Robert and I, like together going, okay, where's our baggage at? Check it, going like, oh, it's on the plane. We can calm down. Or in Robert's case, when it's coming out the carousel and we're watching his bag kind of like go in a circle on his phone, it's like, oh crap, it's getting on the belt again.
Oh, look, Robert's getting madder. Oh, I wonder why.
And they're like $30,
the
right? They're super cheap.
Yeah,
they're stupid cheap. It is single-handedly the best kind of like little pocket insurance you can do for traveling with luggage and gun bags, and it's just fantastic. And it's just that little bit of peace of mind. 100% recommend it to everybody.
Absolutely. Now, how much ammo did you both bring to the match?
500 rounds.
Allegedly 500 rounds.
Oh, okay. So you used all Robert's ammo, right? Oh, okay.
I brought 500, and I took home, what was it? It was 111. So it was a 370. Was a 370 round match, and yeah, that's what I took home. So it's not bad.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. You shot in, like an extra stage worth of makeup shots. So
yeah, I mean, some of those mini poppers were RUF rough.
No, those are easy, bro.
Yeah. Do we want to lie anymore?
I mean, I don't think mini poppers that far are rough though. I mean, I might not be able to hit them half the time, but I don't think it's that rough. But I'm used to it. Like, I have home field advantage because I'm like, yeah, that fucker's about 20 yards. And people always ask me, how far is that mini popper going to be? Expect 20. I mean, it's not that bad.
It's not.
And that's
no,
so
it's
true. It's so true.
It's not that bad. It's mostly just that that match was an extreme throttle control match. And you're just like, I'm going to go fast. Oh, nope. There's that 20-yard mini popper. Hey, can I take it on the move? No, you cannot.
Right. I'm going to try.
Exactly.
And then you're going to stop and realize that, no, you couldn't. I mean, I was just impressed that I was able to hit that mini popper bobber. I mean, I was so proud of myself for that.
All right. Now, let's talk about the bopper. We're going to call it the bopper.
The bopper.
The bopper.
Okay.
That should not have been in the match.
I thought it's cool. I mean,
I thought it was cool.
It is. Of course, it's cool. It was a fun target. Should it have been that far out? Probably not. Most of this match could be summed up by, should the targets have been as far as they were? Probably not. It doesn't mean that it wasn't a great match. That's what I said on the Paracast. I thought it was a fantastic match. They did such a
No,
damn good job.
Robert, I disagree with you because that is the flavor of Area 5. Because well, you can go to Area 2, and we're
This
talking,
is
this is
probably
host
true.
city. It's
Mhm.
host city in Area 2.
Are
Area
you are, are
6
you
is
saying
sprinkler
Hose
city.
City or Host City? Because both of them are equally correct.
I
Yes.
mean, they're both the same thing. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. They get
I'm
two. Everything
It's
gets two very quickly.
right. Well, remember, it's in Rio. You get, the Rio. You got to like Rio.
uh-huh.
So I mean,
But
this is the flavor of Area 5, and I love it. I
yeah,
love the fact that when you go to a state, you can kind of figure out before you get there what you're going to be dealing with. Not necessarily like the full stage plan, but this is what this state likes to play. And
yeah,
it highlights certain skills that either you have or you don't have, which is the beauty of the sport. Like, I don't want every state match or area match to be the same thing. I want whatever the match director would like to kind of prove to you. Hey, come to my range and try to kick your butt. I'm going to try. You try to kick my butt in my own range. You're going to have to try it through my stages, and that's the great part about this match.
Hmm. Well, and some of it actually is based on the bay. Now,
sure.
why paper targets are so far back, or poppers, is the fear, not necessarily that it will, the fear of a bullet leaving the range.
Bouncing. Oh,
So that's why you have paper
everything's up
targets.
against the berm.
It's in the
That
berm.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. I never thought of that, but it does make perfect sense.
Well, because if you're on like Bay 5, right? There is like I hate to say this, but there's like a house nearby. Like this range is placed awkwardly enough where if something goes out, we're done.
Hmm.
So we've got to play it safe that way, but we still have great stages.
Right.
I agree. We agree.
No, that's actually really interesting. I never even considered that, but I mean, as soon as you say it, you're like, oh yeah, I can totally respect that rationale because
Hmm.
it's solid. I mean, you do that even at a lot of our matches where you like, okay, well, if this hits the ground and it ricochets, where's it going? And you
Hmm.
look at it, you're like, right up the berm and out of the range. Never
Hmm.
mind that it's traveling slow, but it's going out.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and like if you looked like back when we hosted Area 5 in 17, it's either 17 and 18 or 18 and 19. Bay 5 was an all steel stage.
Wow.
So if there was kitty corner shots
Mm-hmm.
of steel that far, so that'd been like a 45-yard shot.
Jeez Louise. Wow.
Yeah.
Still tough.
It's like Charlie says, that'll make you aim.
Yes, it will.
And so, but it's no, I mean, it's different. I mean,
Hmm.
it's always going to be different. And I think John and I are in agreement that the reason you travel to these matches is because you get to see how the other half lives.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't know what you don't know until you know it, so you got to
Hmm.
go out there and see what you got.
And the cool thing is, I can almost guarantee you there is going to be a whole bunch of people in this next month that are going to be setting up that standard stage because they're like, I suffered at Area 5, and the rest of you jerks are going to do it too. Never mind the fact that like 14% of the match zeroed that stage. It was
Yeah,
still, it was interesting.
the stage description does not give it justice for what when you stood up there,
Hmm.
depending on where you were during the day, and you're looking down the barrel of, wait a minute, so do I want weak hand or strong hand at around 30 yards with a skunk and a half partial? What pain do I want?
Hmm.
Exactly.
It's funny. Like Mason Lane shows up and he's like, I got this.
Yeah, he should win every strong hand weak hand stage.
If he doesn't win it and win it dominantly, then we should be able to like go punch him in the junk because he's probably the single best like single hand shooter there is anymore.
Hmm. Well, yeah, when you shoot nationals and still get like stomp most of the field when you're shooting one-handed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that guy. That was fun. Honestly, that was fun to watch him shoot. I mean, because it was just so impressive.
Well, and that was what the last nationals in Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that nationals not having any strong hand, weak hand stages was like for Mason. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it was really effing coincidental. And I think that was awesome. It
Mm-hmm.
was just like, oh, we always used to do strong hand, weak hand standards. Guess we're not doing it there. I wonder why. Hey Mason, how's your hand?
Yeah. Well, and it seems like I don't know. Usually, what the strong hand weekend standards is usually what for classic nationals. It seems like nowadays.
Yeah, because they gotta give something for Robbie Leatham to whoop everybody's butt on.
Yeah, he can still boogie though, even though he's old.
That dude, there is a reason they call him the Great One
Well,
because
he has T-Rex arms, guys. Have you seen his draw? Like his arm to gun ratio is ridiculous. Like he's a tall dude too. Like he has like either the shortest torso or the shortest arms, where it's just like pop. His draw is ridiculous for his size.
but
Spring.
the dude he's amazing. Because I mean he is the king of shooting faster, shooting sooner, and that's the way you win.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I think this has got to have been the most ridiculous amount of GMs and Ms to take. Like in for me to watch shoot, it's crazy. Like how much competition was in the field. God, what Carry Optics had? God, 125 shooters. This
Mm-hmm.
match is insane.
Yeah, yeah. Limited essentially looked like production.
It's
Production was
dead.
like single stack.
Production was dead. Production is dead. God, it hurts me to say that, but production is dead. I mean, like I may as well sell the flat tops because there's no point in shooting production ever again.
Agreed.
But
Well,
I don't know. It sucks, dude. It sucks. I mean, production was such a dominant division, and now it's all but gone. It's hard because there's a lot of diehard production guys who are just clinging on to that hope that if we just make one rule change or whatever, then somehow production will come screaming back. And it's like, I'm sorry, dude, it's not coming back. I mean, I like the horse and buggy as much as the next guy, but I don't think we're going to trade the cars in.
right. But if you think about it, there's only 2 revolver shooters.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that single stack had what? It was like 8 or something. It wasn't very many.
I think single stack. What they have 6.
6. Okay.
So just enough to get
Wow.
recognized for a trophy.
Yeah.
PCC was
So much
cool to
crazy.
watch. Like that was really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Well, that match, if you didn't, you kind of wonder sometimes if the stage designer shoots PCC in the way that some of those things lay out. And I'm not saying that he did, but sometimes like back in the early days, they would set these targets out way out there. And it's like you could always see it because like I bet you that standards. I haven't looked, but I bet you that standard stage, the top shooters, let's say probably the top 5, maybe even the top 10 on that standard stage was all PCC. I'd have to look. I'm kind of curious, but I bet they dominated on that thing because they get to use both hands.
Yeah.
Survey says you're right.
Top
Well,
9 shooters used riffles.
wow.
Jill Nils was
Surprising.
10.
Wow. There you go. There you go. And that's impressive because I mean we hated it when we shot it, but then again, I beat Max Michelle on that stage, so I kind of feel good about myself.
I mean, so did I.
I mean, I got to be honest with you. I may have taken a screenshot and framed it.
I heard so many people said they wanted to make a shirt.
I finally beat Max Michelle on a stage.
Yes. Yes, that stage was definitely somewhere to survive. It was not to make it or break it, but just to survive.
Yeah, I did the math on it, and I think it was 14% of the match zeroed that stage out. And it was rough. It was such a rough stage because potentially, and the funny thing about it is they put the slanty, it was open tuxedo slanty, and they put the slanty as a left to right hand downward slant, which is very, very left hand friendly. Because if you're going to shank a shot, then as a lefty, you're going to shank it low right. Righties, on the other hand, are going to slam that thing into the black.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, if you take, I mean, ideally, you should do what Michelle says, where you know aim for the largest amount of A possible. But I mean, even more ideally, especially, I suppose um, you probably shouldn't be missing all your shots. But yeah, there it goes.
Right. So I want to go through some of these stages, if not all of them. But Bay 1, Stage 1, the one you had to run around the back side of the wall from the right side of this stage to the left side.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if there was much options there, but it seemed like there was like a plan.
The RO, when we finished it on Saturday, the RO said that there was only one guy who shot it different than basically stepping out of the uprange and then coming back in on the other side. And so it looked like a stage where you could essentially like shoot it multiple ways, but fundamentally it kind of was just, this is really the only way this thing practically can be shot, because you essentially you're starting in the right and you have to shoot, what is it, the popper, it was a popper paper, and then then two more pieces of paper, step out, and then essentially repeat it, because it was a mirror stage.
Yeah.
I think there was another paper though.
There was.
Yeah.
The only thing I really saw through this whole thing was so if you started on the right side of the wall, you started off paper, popper, paper, that three combination and a stack before you proceeded to leave to go to the left hand side. And the way I saw it was when you did proceed to go around the wall to the left hand side, I thought the best way to attack it was the stack, and then you have to deal with the situation that's on the other side. Now, for me, stack to the popper, then move is probably the best choice, because that leaves the two paper on the left that was around like 12 yards, and then that way back paper that was, I want to say, like 25, and then decreased as you went up range. So taking the popper, move forward, then deal with the two paper to allow you to kind of cut the space kind of while shooting on the move to get to the front where the window is kind of where you is the money maker. If you put any given shooter side, all the top shooters side by side, it really depends what that person's going to do with that set of arrays.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then followed by the reload and then finish through the port.
Oh, reload before you go across. Reload before you go around. Because you have more than enough rounds.
So our squad actually had 5 left-handed shooters on it. That never happens. And so, I mean, that was unheard of. But as a left-handed shooter, yeah, it makes perfect sense to go and reload. I mean, as you're going from right to left. A right-handed shooter might not be the most advisable thing in the world to do. You can do it. You certainly can do it. You just have to be a little bit smarter about it. But this match, it was probably the most left-hand friendly match I have ever shot in all the matches I've ever shot in my entire life. Like by far. The stages built themselves to be very left-hand friendly, so much so that there was not any stages where I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, I got to be really smart about this reload, or I can send one up range. Yeah, I can point the gun up range, essentially. Yeah.
And that is true. I didn't actually think about that at all, but it's something I don't think about since I'm right-handed. Right-hand privilege.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. Right-handed shooters, they don't have to deal with a lot of the issues left-handers do in terms of keeping the gun downrange, because most of the stages usually are conducive to that, and that's awesome. When I design stages for matches, honestly, I design them with right-handed people in mind, because I know that left-handed shooters, they have learned just through that attrition that how to figure out how to do those reloads safely. And so
that is true. Now, that is true, and I think left-handed. Well, and it's interesting. I'll say that because I actually shoot more rays right to left than I will shoot arrays left to right.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I
Interesting.
learned that from Levy, and just like it's interesting. I'll just look at him like this looks easier, so I'll just shoot it this way.
More often than not, I will still tend to shoot most of the stages tend to be built from a right-handed perspective, and I will still tend to shoot them as a right-hander just because I don't like having to swim upstream and try and like fight people to get walkthrough time.
I don't care.
Is true.
John doesn't care. He's a complete a-hole. I mean,
It's that California life, right?
oh yeah. I mean, like short of pulling the gun out, he'll start swinging. It's the craziest thing.
Just throw magazines at their head.
Oh, in California, those magazines are actually worth something. So, he'll just like take off his shoes and start beating them with the bottom of his shoes.
But the ground is rocky. Or concrete? Who wants to walk on that?
Yeah, but that's a part of his upbringing. Getting whacked with the shoe was the ultimate disgrace.
Well, what you do is
slipper.
Yeah, that's right. You just keep the slipper in the back pocket and just go whack.
Like, no, Mom, I'm sorry, Mom, I'll cut it out.
Or it's go get your own switch, kid. Bring me back a good one.
Or I'll make you go cut another one.
Right now, stage 2 was. I thought it was. I would say if I made an observation of this match, there was a lot of what I call a runway in these stages.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like taking you from point A to point B. They were most of these stages, they were very linear. Go here, do that.
Yes. There was no thinking on that point. It's like sometimes it was advantageous of figuring out where you had to go next, but like on like stage 5, how you wanted to tackle that was all how you figured out you wanted to get around the stage.
Right. Yeah, and I think stage 2, it was called Cheddar's better, but I mean immediately stepping into it, you're engaging a mini popper at something like 20 yards. Maybe not that far, but it was a long mini popper. And that was our last. Was that our last stage that that was our last stage for the match.
Yeah, because then you had like the tucks like at 15, and then like the 2 targets. One was a partial and one was an open paper. Sidestepped over and shot hardcover steel.
Yeah, he shot the plate rack. That's how we looked at it. It was basically a plate rack.
Rack. It was plate rack. Yeah.
Without
the tempo. That's the tempo verified, man. It's like you started out shooting a 15 plus something, and the question is it a mini popper or a skunk? And that's how it was. It's like do you need a walkthrough? Nope. I see. No. What my first shot is 15 yards plus something long.
And that's the tempo of the stage.
And that's how it goes. But I did like stage 2 because one really sneaky deceptive target out of being super accurate with the first array and then going to the plate rack because all you saw was the little 6-inch plate above a hardcover steel was target 8 and 9 on the stage description. So that right side there, you'd engage after the 4 mini poppers covered by the hardcover.
Right.
And you should really hit the skunk first after you engage the poppers because you're stationary and kind of already in that mode of hitting a hard target. Really what you did with target 9 that was open was the game changer of your time because most people mentally will turn from those 4 poppers, go to the skunk in the open, and they will stand still the entire time to shoot both of them instead of trying to move on that open target 9 to get up range a little bit sooner.
Yeah, that was true. Yeah, because then you had to boogie all the way to the end.
Yeah, and that was the only stage that had an actual swinger, and bless their heart, they went and put a partial so that all you had was essentially the upper A zone, and the rest of it was partialed up.
And it was visible at rest.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, now we get to play the game of how good are you at tracking a target? And
that was not a slow target either.
No, it moved out pretty well.
Even though it was like right in your face. It was like
yeah, and so much, I mean, with swingers, I mean, it's what Kenny Terry always taught me. It's all you track the target and you never stop moving the gun. And so like when I had, what was it, Alpha Charlie on that, and I was extremely happy with that. I mean, to finish the match out, I didn't have a no shoot, and so that was perfect.
Yeah, I think I was happy because I think I threw 3 and I had Alpha Charlie on it.
And that's, yeah, you can't, I mean, sometimes on those things, you're just like, we all say, you're supposed to aim it. Sometimes there's a little bit of Jesus take the wheel.
Yes. Especially on that. It's like, don't hit the no shoot, don't hit the no shoot.
Yeah.
Well, and then in front of it was the no shoot steal that Ken smoked right smack dab in the middle of it. The guy with the mustache on your squad.
Uh-huh.
Dude.
That was awesome. I'm like, dang, bro.
His makeup though was like, oh, so pristine. He was like, Mike, hit, look, bang, and just went right to the dead center of Alpha on that no shoot steal.
Mm-hmm. Well, and because I think I remember coming in, it was paper on the right, popper, paper to the left, swinger. Was there another steal? I think then there was another steal, paper, steal.
Yeah,
Because there was the steal way in the corner.
Yep. And there's one short, and there was one really short that was close that a lot of guys would be like, oh, finally, I get to shoot at a mini popper at 7 yards. 5 rounds later, as they're like shooting around it, they're just like, what happened to me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was RUF. But
yeah,
it's fun. It was a good stage. I mean, it was pretty straightforward, but it was nice to end on that stage just because everything kind of just came together and you're able to go home and be happy.
We forgot about this. Chrono. How spicy was it, Robert?
It was not bad. It was not bad. It was only 137.9.
Okay, not 150.
No, I toned it down a little bit.
The 100 pounds of powder is going faster if it goes higher.
yeah, and you gotta save that stuff, man. I tell you what, there's a part of me that's like, I should bring the HSTs just for funsies. Pop, pop, boom.
Yeah. Which I don't know. Do you have anyone who have issues with the gauge or anything?
Not on our squad. Not on our squad. It was all pretty straightforward. I heard from somebody, and I've never seen this, but apparently some of the SIG magazines, I guess they have some trouble about passing the gauge.
The SIG 21 factory round mags, like with the weird plastic extension, that one's an issue, it seems like. But if you take, if you sand down the back edge of it, it'll fit. But people don't know.
Okay, yeah, Henning Wahlgren made base pads just to support that are actually designed to fit the gauge.
Yes.
And so that must be exactly what it is then, because I remember him saying that. I just couldn't remember exactly what the gun was, but that's actually strange to me because you would think that Phil Strader, he kind of would have cottoned on to that. I mean, he's so good with everything else.
Yeah, but it's a piece of plastic on the bottom of the mag, so plastic, swelling and contracting with cold and hot temperatures, and it's that variance you play. Especially even though it's an EGW mag gauge, it's still a piece of metal that has a tolerance. We, as the staff, had an argument on Saturday night about the mag gauge, about what it should be. Should it, how do they make specs for this thing for it to be compliant? So then because you can have a mag gauge that you pass on, and then the guy who at Chrono, you fail his mag gauge. Because I
can't remember, in IDPA they had the wooden boxes, and I think those boxes inside the rule set there was like a 16th or something of an inch tolerance that they could be within, and where you're making these out of metal, these particular mag gauges, I mean, they get those things down to the 0.005, and so they've got to be pretty darn close. But if you have a magazine that's just barely not passing chrono or passing equipment, then yeesh, that's rough. If that's even a concern of yours, it's what we always tell people: before you actually take the time and spend all that money to fly to a major match, do a couple really simple things. Borrow your club's mag gauge if that applies to you, and then maybe you should shoot your rounds across to chrono and realize that if you live in the higher elevations, your speed is going to probably go down just a skosh. And so that 125.1 power factor ammo that you think is the most baller thing in the world maybe isn't the best thing to do, because it's really nice to spend thousands of dollars to go somewhere and then come in sub-minor. That just sucks.
Yeah, there's a lot of people actually went sub-minor.
Yeah, that sucks. That just sucks. You don't wish that. I mean, of all the things to happen at a match, I would rather shoot the worst match of my life than to come in sub-minor.
There was
Because,
3.
Oof.
And
Oof.
one of them was Jalise.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well,
That-
I was talking to her after the match. So she used Justine's older Shadow 2, but checked chrono at home with her new Shadow 2. So we think it's the barrel on it. We think that that older gun she was using the whole match had, it just was losing it.
Oh, that sucks. That really sucks. That always hurts because I mean, inevitably that's just something that's basically under your control.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the worst part is chrono was her last stage.
Oh no.
My other buddy shot sub-minor. He started at chrono, but he finished the match. I'm like,
Jeez.
if that was me, I've been like, nope, I'm sitting out. I don't care. I'm not wasting that ammo for no score.
Honestly,
what's interesting, guys?
I still would have shot the match. I really would have because okay, yeah, you're not going to get your score. I mean, as a part of the overall, but it was a damn good match, and by gosh, I'm going to go shoot it because why not?
Right.
And you probably realistically you probably would turn in the best match of your life because you'd just be like, what are you going to do to me? You can't penalize me any worse. And you essentially would just show up to every single stage and you're like, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. And Jesus, you take the wheel. And you wouldn't even care. It'd be awesome.
Yeah. What were you saying, John?
I was scrolling through Chrono and I'm just looking at the data real quick, just the high level stuff. And I'm looking at carry optics, and it's curious to see the people who are on the top of the board on average where their classification is. And if you scroll way to the bottom for those average people close to 125, what is their classification? And there is a bunch of G's kind of chilling out there in that under 130, more so than way at the top where you got a bunch of like 150 power factors, 135 power factors. It's just fascinating to kind of to see that.
And that is interesting, especially since the guy who gets his ammo made by a major manufacturer,
had 127 power factor.
Yeah, 127.57. Yeah.
Yeah, that on those 147 grain bullets that really need to be going 900 feet per second to actually get stability at long distance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would never ever actually mean anything unless you were doing something like, oh gosh, I don't know, shooting long targets.
Yeah. Well, and like, I don't know. For my sanity, I'd want it at 130 power factor minimum, just for that variation of travel.
Yeah,
I agree.
You're just playing too much with fire at that point, trying to go lower than that.
Yeah, I mean, I think between now and Utah State, I may go and drop the power factor a little bit just to see what it feels like, but the power factor is not what's holding me back right now.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, realistically, the gun runs, it cycles exceptionally well. I didn't have any malfunctions throughout the match. Maybe I need to do something like, shoot with more intensity, transition the gun harder, because it certainly isn't the power factor that's slowing me down.
Now, if you look at the top end of chrono, like overall, the highest hit factor was 198.
Damn.
That 40 was okay, and I remember this guy's gun extensively. It's a Shadow. It was like a CZ Shadow 2 orange or whatever.
The tax sports.
The tax sport. And this dude, like, I'm the third RO on this squad, and I'm getting pelted with this brass, like literally, like dead. Like I thought I got shot. It hit so hard. I was like, what the fuck? And then at this point, I'm like slapping it out of the air to keep it from hitting me. And it was not fun.
But no. But those were good stages. It was fun. Chrono is chrono. I mean, I think you should do whatever makes you happy. But for me and my house, I'm always going to run the thing up on the upper end because when I mean, John's fortunate. He lives down at sea level. So for him, everywhere is up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I live at, 4,500 feet, which means that pretty much everything is going down. And I'm like, well, I know where Chrono's at. I'm going to run it. And if it comes in hot, so be it. But I don't care that much. And so, such as it is.
Yeah, and exactly. It's you roll the dice at that point. Pick your
Pretty
poison.
much. Yeah, it's in the words of Charlie Perez, it's not the low-hanging fruit.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so moving on to stage 3, my arm hurts is the stage name. That was
we started on this stage.
So yeah, I think the I guess the best plan was popper, super far away, paper, run on the move, shoot on the move, the 2 paper popper slanty.
Yep.
And then run to a port and shoot whatever you saw.
Left.
Shoot, and then run to the other port and shoot the rest.
Yeah, and it seems to me like they put some barrels and stuff in here that weren't on the stage description, but whoever pays attention to the stage description.
Mm-hmm.
But about the stage though, guys, like we started on the stage in the morning. That target number 3, that slanty that's up there right by the walls.
Yeah.
If you weren't paying attention, you would have thought that the barrier, the wall that's next to it, was casting the shadow on that target, not the hardcover itself. So I was first on that stage and I was like, all right, ping, da, 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 and I run there. And I remember shooting at that slanty going, wait, that's way darker than that shadow should be. Let me just throw one more at it. Ba, 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 left. Came back to the target and I hit that center of hardcover on there. And I was like, hey, guys, I told everyone squad, like, hey, guys, that when you look at that target, aim a little higher. Guaranteed. You're going to get screwed by that thing.
So you got your first mic on the first stage, right?
No. I can't.
No, I did.
I can't include.
He did.
He did.
Yeah, it was a nice stage to start out with. It felt like it was about to set the tempo for the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Manny, which window did you go to first?
I went to the left.
Why not the right?
Because how it flowed and how at least the whole squad walked through it. We'd do everything in the front, leave on the slanty, run up, go to the left port. I think it was because it was a straight line from where I stopped at the corner of the runway.
Sure.
So I stopped there and just book it over the 2 fault lines to the port, go popper, paper, popper, transition as I'm backing out to that slanty through the port, transition the gun perfectly to the next slanty, popper.
Yeah, so, functionally, the stage was pretty much identical. It was a mirror image of. I think you go 6 of one, half a dozen other. Left-handed, I came into the right-hand port.
We wanted the right-hand port, and I think the reason why we went to the right-hand port is like when you're trying to choose between left or right, it's like you can't see any target in particular as you're running to the left-hand port. Mm-hmm. Like you have to get in there to shoot, but if you choose the right-hand port, that one mini popper,
you can be aiming in on it. Yeah,
you can aiming in on it all day. Like you could be pretty much shooting like 3 feet in front of the window, versus nothingness going to the left-hand port. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason why Robert and I went to the right, because we saw that mini popper going like, wait, we can see this way earlier. Let's shoot this sooner instead of just like bombarding in there to also shoot at a mini popper as well. So that's why we went to the right first.
It's okay. I still beat Robert on that stage.
Yeah, you and half the match. Screw you.
Well, that was my best stage of the whole match, and that was the last stage. That was the last stage we shot on the first day, and I'm like, I gotta fucking make something connect here. So yeah, that's
awesome.
Yeah, it was a good ratio, and it was definitely good enough. So, but that one was a fun one. Now, stage 4. How'd you feel about the wonderful array of steel and the Mr. Spinny target?
I think that was Robert's least of his problems actually on this stage.
Yeah, totally missed the target on that one.
What, the one right in front of your face in the port?
That's the one.
Okay, you and Jake Martins then.
Well, that's a dubious honor.
Today I watched his stage run of that, and I'm like, so you hit the no shoot steal and missed the first target in the first array.
Yeah, it was. That was a weird stage. That was our second stage, and honestly, it took me those 2 stages just to even get into the match. I could not for the life of me get going on that match. And when I FTSA'd that thing, it was just like, oh geez, is this how this match is going to go? And I, on the show clear, and I walked off that stage, and I was just like, I got to go do something else. And that's literally what I did. I put my AirPods in and I just went for a walk.
Taylor Swift went on.
Taylor
Went
Swift,
on
she
second stage.
definitely went on.
Tay Sweezy, baby.
Oh yeah, I 100%. She was playing, and I could not for the life of me like dig myself out of that hole. And it was only when we got over to Leif's stage that I finally was able just to let it go. And I went and I shot that stage, and I shot it well. But boy, that dropout on stage 4, that thing was, I don't think anybody actually aimed at that. They basically shot the popper and started pulling the trigger as fast as they could, because it opened up and closed. It was a one exposure. It opened and closed so dang fast.
Yeah.
That it was just like
credit to the staff though, because like that thing was consistent all day long. Like looking at the construction of how it was, like I was more worried about, will that change at all, like over time? And it was super consistent every single time. It was the exact same way. And again, that's credit to Walt and you guys at Area 5 to have all of your movers. And when we're going to talk about Leif stage next, there was no change in presentation, which is a big thing when you go to other matches where you may get a different presentation and it's hard to arb it. Like it, and you don't want to arb it, and that's the crappy part. So credit to you guys to getting that right.
Yeah, that Turner is definitely a motherfucker. I saw most people on my squad ended up shooting the sticks.
Right.
Like as it turned, it was turning, and right behind the target is when you get the shot off. So the sticks were shot like third shooter. I think we swapped sticks on that one because just had
first
to happen.
Our first shooter disemboweled the target. he went from delta to delta.
Oh, he did. It was
all
awesome.
the way through.
Yes. Win. Yep, yeah. You just got to swap the target at that point.
Yeah, that was fun. It was a good stage. I mean, obviously I didn't like it, but it was clever.
We got to talk about the coloring. So there was a question about the popper itself. So about that, a no shoot steel target protecting one of the mini poppers in the middle section. Robert brought this up about color wise. So.
Yeah, and it's like we talked about this on the show, but it was one of those things where the no shoot the no shoot metal was painted the same color as all of the shoot metal targets. And if you look in the rules, it's like 4.13 or something like that, where it says that the no shoot targets need to be a different color. And so I asked, and they're like, "Oh yeah, all the RM said it's just fine." And then I happened to see Walt, and I was like, because I know Walt's a really good range master, and so I was just like, I'm just going to go ask him. And so he looked it up, and his interpretation was that only applies to poppers. And I'm like, okay. And honestly, I didn't care that much. I wasn't going to shoot it, and I certainly wasn't going to try and arb the stage, because why would I? I just flew 1,000 miles to shoot a match, and the last thing I want to do is go home with more bullets. But it certainly was a question.
Well, even before the match started, that could have been even painted a different color too. Like it could have been, I don't know, blue. But that's the point.
The stage designer actually wanted to sucker people into it, is what the staff said.
Well, that was Walt. Walt made that one. So
so he was defending his turf.
A little
bit. I see how it is, Walt. No, and it's fine. Honestly, it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm going to ask the question. And I'm going to say, this is why I see it this way. And I don't have a strong opinion on how it's going to be. If they say no, then I'm like, cool, dude, I'm here to shoot. I'm here to shoot stages, and I'm just going to shoot the stage. Admittedly, I should have fought harder, because then I wouldn't have gotten that FTSA. So maybe I could like think about that better next time. But regardless, I mean, it's like we had a stage where the RO called it, it was like Alpha Charlie, and it was really close to the headbox Alpha. And I was like, hey, can you put a card on that? And like a boss, he's like, not a problem in the world. So he called the CRO over, and I did what I always do. I walk all the way back to like the table, and I let them figure it out. I don't sit around there. I mean, whatever they're going to call, they're going to call, and that's just how I do it. That is one of those Kenny Terryisms, and I'm a strong believer in that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I pulled my overlays out more on my own to make sure that we have a accurate score than people asking for an overlay.
Right.
And it's usually because there were so many damn pasters on perf lines that it was like the squad before target change was like, that'd have been like nice like 2 shooters ago, like to swap these fuckers. But you're already shooting through the squad, and you're like, well, keep going.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing about the overlays when they start getting shot up is you use them to trace your scoring lines.
Yep, you got to essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Now, John, you didn't get suckered and forget that target, did you?
Oh heck no. No, that was a California target. That was like 3 yards wide open. I plugged 2 with like 12 splits as fast as I could to get out of that place.
It's all good, Robert.
Yeah. Shut up.
Now, on stage 5, it was very interesting. I think I took the riskier plan and I shot the bobbing tucks from the back.
Wow. I mean, that stage on average, if you were not at the match, taking all targets into account, the average distance was 18 yards on average. And if you shot at the back, you made it 25 yards because that was kind of ridiculous, depending on how you wanted to navigate that stage. That was very risky.
It was risky. It didn't pay off very. I mean, I still had 1 mic on it, but it was like death close. But it was a 3-pass target.
True.
It was still a 3-pass target at that point, but it was just I didn't want to go to that front corner. I just didn't want to go to that front left corner.
No, I get it. I actually changed my stage plan up at the last minute, just because I don't know.
Confidence
I think
wasn't high.
The confidence wasn't high.
Wasn't high.
That's probably true. That's probably really what it was. And so I was like, I'm just going to go with the stage that I know I can hit. And so I figured going up the right side and then shooting that bobbing popper, knowing that if I missed it, I could take it from that port over in the end position. And fortunately, I hit it. I didn't know I hit it, but I did. And so when I finished the stage, I swung over through that port looking for the popper, and it wasn't there. And I was like, cool. I totally intended that.
Yes.
So to give you some color about what happened. Now, Robert's describing to you from his perspective. Yeah, he didn't know what happened to that popper. So all of us in the squad were kind of like, we were watching Robert sulk after his second target that he just clearly missed. And we're on the 3rd stage, and this is the stage for the 3rd one. So this is the make or break for Robert. He comes up, and he looks like he has the biggest sack between his legs as he's shooting this stage. Like the sheer confidence of Taylor Swift that has given my Mormon brother here. He shoots this stage.
It's in your wildest dreams.
Exactly. From what we could see on the outside, Robert went ping, and he left with such confidence. But the funny part was when he went to the front and he twisted over to transition for that bobber popper through the window, and he turned over. He was like, "Oh, I got it." He almost like turned around and looked at us, going like, "I got it, guys! I got it."
Did you guys see this? Hey, everybody,
did you see this?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, and for hit factors, like the high hit factor was only a 6.2.
Oh yeah.
But Hyder shot Max shot it in 19.86, but he wasn't the high hit factor. Hyder had him on high hit factor. But still, 20 seconds for that stage. Whew.
Yeah, that's Viger probably just knocked half the walls over to do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Vlieger was in 9th, so Andrew won that stage. So but
that was an interesting stage. It was a really interesting stage. I mean, they stuck those things back. That is a really clever popper. I'd never seen one in my life before.
Well, You can buy one. Do you want to buy one?
Who do I buy one from?
I can tell you later, but you can buy one.
Oh, sweet. Because I hate my squad.
Well, Steve Koski would be pissed. What the hell is this shit?
Mm-hmm.
With his production iron sights. God, I
Yeah.
wouldn't even want to think about shooting that stage production though.
I would. That'd be such an Iron Man challenge. Like, how many reloads you'd probably be doing just to nail that mini popper in the back as it like bobs you, as it like waves the finger, as it keeps going like up and down on you.
Yeah, that would be God, that would be a challenge. Hetherington, he shot prod, I think, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It was a good stage.
Yeah, he was 30th in overall for that stage. And he still came away with 4 Charlies, a Delta, and a Mike.
On that stage?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's one of the golly, that's just like when you see stuff like that, you're just like, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, like if the top end guys are just miking the crap out of that thing, I mean, what hope do like the little guys have?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, you could stand there all day, and I mean, at no speed, you could. None of those targets were difficult with no time limit.
This is true. Actually, you know,
Agreed.
that's actually a really good point. That is true. But unfortunately, there is still that time limit.
Right. Well, yeah. When competitive shooting at speed is, it's DVC, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So I mean, like, but none. If you just stood there and shot that target with no time limit, nothing would be absolutely like. It's not like some bullshit guillotine swingy thing from Area 3 last year.
Oh, jeez.
Or the memory stage that killed Robert.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that video. It's like, where am I?
Jesus did not take the wheel on that one.
Yeah. So as lefties on stage 6, did you start on the left or the right?
Started on the right. Honestly, that stage was symmetrical all the way through, and so I mean, no matter what, you're shooting the exact same thing, just left or right. It's a pretty straightforward stage. There's nothing really special about that stage. It was literally a go here, shoot that. There's no options. You just had to go. I mean, I guess the options were if you decided to shoot all 3 of the middle stuff from the middle, but you were going to swing the gun over the tuxedos anyway. So it was like, why even? I mean, you're in the position, just shoot the thing from there, go to the middle and just shoot that open target and just book it to the other side. It was a fine stage. There was nothing sexy about it. You just shot it.
It was very fair as a retreat stage for everybody. Because of how you shot those like 3 or so odd targets you shoot there and you leave on, and you're running downrange, you just throw the gun over the shoulder and book it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not having to worry about, do I need to spin back around, or is it just put the gun up, and then when you get to the position you turn in and shoot.
Yeah. And so
yeah, 6 was no was a no-brainer. Now stage 7 with the max traps, that one I liked that stage.
Let's see.
I died on the stage. This was actually like a SoCal stage. Because everything was in like 7 yards, but man, my mental was gone on this particular one. The crazy part was kind of like, how do you deal with the back sequence? Well, there's really 2 tricks about the stage when we walked it. Starting outside, when the first position straightforward, you have that kind of low-ish window where you have the head box, open target, and then the no shoot partial, and then you're kind of proceeding to go down range, and then you have 2 ports or 2 windows, one to the left and one to the right. The thing was, if you position your body a little bit more like an apex and kind of like straight lined it, when you were shooting the first window, you should not be kind of moving your body around. You should be going straight line to the second window and shoot it on the way in. That was kind of like the first little trick about that stage. The second trick was kind of like how you navigate out of that the third window now, going to the back. And Manny, how did you attack the end? Did you shoot the 2 targets on the right, or did you go for the trap first on the left?
So I came out of the second port, just took that across the tux over. then did the reload, went up, shot the middle target between the traps on the way in, then was aimed at the trap, stomped it, right, left, open paper, then transitioned all the way across to paper tucks.
Maybe it was a left-hand like thing, but the way we looked at it, when you're kind of going towards that end, we aimed for the open paper and the partial on the skunk on the right. So when we ran up into the load, we were like dead nuts staring at it, so that the moment the wall moved away, we started shooting at the open target, and then we moved a little more forward, shoot at the skunk, and then using that body transition, we turned over, hit our right foot on the stomp, and was staring at the right trap as it went down. That's how we did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see where that's an advantage. I can see where that works. I don't know. I mean, but in the interesting part, the left side of the box triggered it. It wasn't like it was and both traps were on the same activated side. It wasn't like it wasn't like if you smacked it in the middle, they both would go. You got to stomp the left. I found that out the hard way, stepping on the wrong side of that box.
Wait. You stepped on the wrong side of the box and it didn't activate properly?
No, not on this stage. In previous boxes, when we've used these boxes, like Michigan Sectional, there was a stage where it was on bay 10, and there was a swinger, like a 25, 30-yard swinger from the back. But the start position is anywhere outside, and there was a stomp box. So you run across the stomp box, but me running across the stomp box didn't trigger it. So then you had to do oh shit, that didn't go down.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So it's funny you bring that up, because when we were walking the stage, Svetlana was one of the ROs on it, and she was showing us how to do it. And I'm like, are you sure we don't need to like set both of them? And because like in Utah, you set both of them because it just doesn't activate right. We have they're nice bear traps. They just don't activate unless you have both of them set. And she's like, nope. She's like, she said in that, the way she says it, she's like, I tested them and it works perfectly. And I'm like, cool, show me how to set this thing and I'll set it for everybody. And so I set that trap for everybody except for the three or four shooters that was, where I was coming up. Yeah. Right. And so, but I thought it worked. I thought it worked really well. It didn't seem to have any problems. So that's good.
Yeah. They're definitely consistent, after you set them and whatnot, but you just got to make sure you either got to smack it hard or step on the right side very lightly.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I liked that stage. I did okay. I even hit a no shoot and I still had a decent hit factor on it.
Nice.
Nice. Oh, now I gotta look. Now this is gonna bother me, right? It's usually how you go is like you start talking about stages, and I mean, I had a 6.6 hit factor on that. So
interesting.
But I still with the no.
You probably still beat me, so.
Oh, I don't want to rub it in you too bad.
Oh, I'm sure everybody beat me.
That's what I need on the computer. Like on practice score, you need to be able to use competitor on the computer.
Yeah, no, that would be super nice to have that for sure.
Instead of have to deal with it all on your phone. But I digress. But then we go to 8. The Glock stage, the unloaded, weird, contorted position stage.
The California start. It seems like your gun is unloaded. It's behind you, and you're holding onto a barrel in a very awkward position.
Well, I personally designed this stage, so I wanted an uprange start without saying standing and facing uprange, because facing uprange is defined in the rule book as X, Y, and Z. So then you don't have to worry about somebody trying to be a little goofy with their start. Exactly. So you face them uprange by putting their heels on a stick with 2 marks for their hands, looking that way.
Right.
I still gamed the hell out of it. I'm sorry. I gamed the hell out of it.
Well, that's fine. That's everyone's right. And I didn't care. I just didn't see that it wasn't. I did see some weird like videos with people's feet. I'm like, how do you don't get any power? Like they'd have these goofy stances and they'd have no power on the move. Like how they were standing, it was just like they had to throw themselves off the barrel because they weren't using their feet to kick or push because of how they had them contorted. So they were most of the way facing downrange.
That's
Right.
exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I put my hands on the barrel and I put pressure in my palms like a spring. And the second that thing buzzed off, I pushed off the barrel
Mm-hmm.
and twisted my hip at the same time. And that's how I torted myself out of that position.
Now, Alex, did you stand on the little platform to shoot those inside targets?
No, well, yeah, it's a competitive, it's competitive equity at that point, right? You
Yeah.
know, you're either giving it up from the people or you're taking it. No, we didn't figure out. Well, one, we had one of the shortest shooters on staff day, and he was like, "I don't want it." Like, well, it wasn't even available quite at that point, so we could have taken the reshoot on it if we really wanted it. But it's
Right.
like, it's not worth it, like, to go fucking with fate, right?
You know what? They offered it and somebody threw it down and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that does make it a little bit easier." And so I just went with it. I was like, it makes it that much easier to punch that gun out. And so
Robert,
Mhm.
Robert, you're missing the bigger thing. One of our poor squad mates actually fell into the trap on your stage you designed. He
Yeah.
braced himself for the back
Oh,
two right shots. He
that's
braced himself, and
right.
we didn't ask. We didn't ask about it. All of a sudden, the first guy went through, and then the CRO on the stage he was like, finger up, one finger up, and then we're like, wait, what did he do wrong? Did he mic? Like, no, he braced himself on that entire back section, which is not in the shooting area, and none of us paid attention to it. So we had one poor soul got a couple procedurals bracing themselves on that thing.
Did you design that on purpose?
It was designed in a way that, yes, the fault lines, the wall was outside the shooting area, but it was a little bit closer than, like, the fault line was a little bit closer than I'd wanted to. And also those slant the low boys were a little bit close to the wall. Now I think if you had adjusted it a little bit more, like on stage 10 with the low boys, because like you had no problem getting the low boys on 10.
Right, right.
But if the ones on 8 were more like that, there would have been no issue. But
Okay. I see. I think I see what you're saying. That makes sense.
it was not a I want to get you stage. It was just how I kind of drew it. It kind of reminded me of how nationals looked. There was a stage that looked like an alchemist spot, well, it was like the test. Now was it not a test tube, but beaker, right? It looked like it was the vortex stage at nationals last year, where it had like a triangle, but then it had like a little runway touching the triangle. So I kind of made it something like that, where you had to go to the corners and whatnot. So, and I was just asked, hey, I have a stage, like, originally there was a stage that was going to have ports with ropes to have to then like remove the door. But then we thought about it for a safety purpose. We threw that stage to the wind and we threw mine in.
Oh,
So,
really?
mhm.
Huh. Interesting. I liked it. I think I've said that about every single stage. I liked it. I liked it. I liked it. No,
Mhm.
that's the
Robert,
thing about this whole match was it really is a good match. And
Robert, this
so
is the one of the few stages that you didn't have to shoot at anything above 15 yards.
I think a lot of that was because of the bay design. We were on let's call it the south side of it.
To the
Mhm.
street. To the
And
street.
so they couldn't put the poppers in. And so it just the bays just lent themselves to that.
Well, it was definitely shoot on the move through it too. It's like you get into that shooting area and you better start be moving because you're already losing time loading that gun.
Yeah. No,
Right.
I think it was nice because it actually did allow you to move around a little bit and everybody did that. They were sawing the gun back and forth and back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Yeah,
did you go to the left or the right first?
Uh I went so I shot the stuff on the right, then I took a step forward, shot the inside, and then I swung over and I shot everything all on the left going up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so
Same way, John?
yeah, I did the same way. And I was going to say, like, looking back on all the stages talked about, there is legitimately probably two decent ways of doing any given stage in terms of like how you like to shoot. If you're more positional guy, like you could reasonably do a stage plan that's a lot of positions. And if you're a shoot on the move kind of guy, there's like at least half the stages that allowed you to do something with it. which is again
Yeah.
is another testament to like how good this match is. It's not exactly one way that you can put in your style to perform on any given stage, and you'd still
Hmm.
be competitive.
I'd agree. Now, moving to the low port stage, well, the prone stage or get on your knee stage, the PCC stage.
Yeah.
I really didn't see other than like you shoot the things you had to shoot from the front. Then I ran through the shooting area. Did you guys go around the wall?
No, I ran up the alley.
Yeah.
I ran up the
Yeah.
alley. It didn't
Yeah. At the
because
alley.
yeah, you stepped in and you shot the stuff on the right, and then you could shoot the stuff down that little hallway, and then you swung over, and then
Mhm.
you just basically reloaded and shot all the stuff in the back.
Yeah.
I know originally we were looking, there was two targets that were way at the back left, and you could kind of see them when you got to the end, but the falling out shot to the partial was just like, it's a bit of a risk with that barrel sitting there. And so I think everybody pretty much just shot them right at the start.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah. I didn't mind it. I didn't mind getting down the ground. I had to do a load. Well, we all had to do a reload at some point. So
Yeah. And so no, it's pretty straightforward. There wasn't anything. There was not a lot of options on how that stage was. It was go here, do that.
Yeah.
right. Well, and
So
then there was 10 where you shot. Seemed like you stepped in. I don't know how you guys shot it, but it was stepped in on the right, shoot the one in the hallway, then the two in the back, and then you had to shimmy up and then shoot the one on the left side of the bay, and then you had
Oh,
to
I did
run.
differently.
Okay,
I did
how'd
a
you?
little bit differently. So I started off two on the right, same as you, and then I
Mhm.
immediately went to the two in the way back
Okay.
to get them out. Now, the fun part was, well, I guess is again because I'm lefty, that target that's in the middle, that's kind of like tucked away in between, that's also half partial. I
Hmm.
started walking on that target to open the remaining open target that's in between the barrels immediately on that 9 o'clock position on the
Hmm.
stage, and that allowed me to like eat up another like 3 yards while everyone's still in the back shooting it stagnant.
yeah.
Hmm.
But everyone's the same.
Yeah, and then you just shoot it, and you shoot. You don't be a dumbass, and you shoot. I don't know. Would you shoot in? Would you shoot right to left on that array, on the back array, or would you shoot left to right?
Left to right,
Yeah,
left to right. Because
that's.
like when you turn the corner, so you could see 11 a little bit earlier than 8 on the stage description. But the problem is like usually you're done with your reload as you're kind of turning the bend, so you pretty much see all four. The really nice trick about those targets in the back, if you shoot left to right, you could be pretty much like 3 feet in towards shooting those targets that are super low, versus if you shot it from right to left, you're pretty much stuck three
Yeah.
feet back because of target 8, and you have
Yeah,
to be
because you
so a
lose the
little bit
left
further
one really
back.
quick.
Hmm.
You lose that left one pretty quick. So left to right was another little. You could gain like a foot of space, which is like in reality of time, half a second. But when you're stacking those seconds on top of each other, that's when you start to lose general stage time for guys who are going to shoot it a little bit differently than you are.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I'd agree. No, I don't know what I did. I did the reload really early. Like for some reason, my brain I moved from the first position to go shoot the one on the left, and my brain said reload. So it was like, and then I'm like, so I'm ripping the mag out of the gun to throw another one in there. I'm like, what the fuck? And it just so then instead of going left to right, I went right to left. It was like, well, just finish, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, but honestly, I think 11. I guess I'll take this from Nils. Nils says 11 was the one that was the hoser stage of the match.
Okay, well, apparently I didn't hose it.
I mean, it was definitely not a traditional hoser, but it was that L-shaped shooting area where you shoot the steel in the back with the paper, come across to these two on the front, and then boogie around the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I pissed everyone off on the stage.
Yeah, he shot that thing retrograde.
Oh, you retreated.
Yeah, I retreated. Like the way I looked at it was, if you, it's about those back targets.
Right.
Like it's seriously all about those back targets. And like when you're coming from left to right and you're kind of coming up to it, you're coming in with all the speed in the world. Like you're just hammering, 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 doing a load, going to that port on the left, hammering again, and then suddenly you have to like eke out of your brain, oh wait, that's a classic target at 12 yards, and you can only see the upper crest of that target. Like I need to be accurate. So when I shot it, I'm like, I'm gonna start with those targets, and then I could boogie through the rest of the stage, and that's what
Yeah.
worked for me.
Yeah, I think it was 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
I think you saved a little bit of steps not retreating because you could stop at the port. You didn't have to go all the way. You saved like a yard or two.
Yeah, yeah.
But for short-legged folks like us, that makes a world of the difference.
Well, and functionally, John was left-handed, and so I mean that retrograde definitely allows itself to be shot a lot more aggressively than if you were right-handed and having to keep that gun pointed downrange coming around that corner.
Yes, yeah.
And so I'm not convinced that John's way was right, but I tend to trust him on stage design because he's usually stage flow and stuff like that because he's usually pretty right about it.
Yeah, well, he did have what?
He did it good, so
Yeah, he had a good run. He had 15.
Except I couldn't escape any of the mics this match, dude. Like I could not. I hit a funk in this match. I could not get into a groove. I should have probably listened to Taylor Swift when Robert was listening to it. I listened to it way too late.
Taylor Swift makes everything better.
Well,
Everything.
yeah, that's I mean, music could make things better. Now, the only true retreat stage in the match was 12. I did not see any. It was the barrel start, the mags on barrels.
We actually started on the second barrel or the first
back.
barrel on the right. We grabbed the gun and then retreated all the way back to the front and then shot it all the way up.
Really? Okay.
And that was large. Actually, honestly, it was 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It really didn't matter how you shot it, left or right. It did not matter.
Long as you gave enough respect to the head box and the Tux bobber.
I did not. I did not.
I want to honestly see. I want to see how many mics per stage. The average, the mean. I want to see how many mics per stage was on each one.
Yeah, it was interesting where all the magazines had to start on the barrels, and there was just enough so that if you had a high cap gun, you could shoot the entire thing without having to reload. And so you put more magazines on the barrels than you needed for sure because everything had to come from it.
Nah. Okay, I did put one on. Where did I put an extra one on? I think I put one on the corner barrels. So I started all the way in the far left. And
okay,
I did put
so
one
you started all downrange.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So then I put one on the right hand corner at the I'd call it the corner of the 7.
Yeah.
Just in case, but I didn't plan on ever doing a reload. But it sucks is that you can't stow a mag.
Yeah, that was odd.
I mean, because I would have put 2 on the barrel, slapped one to the magnet, loaded the gun, and just gone.
Right. I think we had people shoot it both ways. the times were identical, so it's whatever you're more comfortable with. As far as stowing mags on barrels, if you give me the opportunity, I'm going to put every single mag I have on barrels somewhere, because it's stages like this that your otherwise flawless magazines suddenly decide to not like you, and if they're not on a barrel somewhere per the stage description, you're hosed.
Mm-hmm.
And so you lose nothing by putting them there, and you gain everything by having that backup just in case.
Yeah, I agree. I had a decent time. I shot on 15:30, but I gave up way too many points. I had 7 alphas, 10 charlies, and a mic.
Yeah, I had a bike on that stage too. It was frustrating.
It was right over the turtle. It was right over the head box.
I did a Kenny Terry and I mic'd an open target because that's how we roll.
It could have been a perfect
multiple
double.
Times.
Yes, multiple times.
So what you're saying is So Kenny Terry needs to come to Area 5 next year, right?
He should. I think he'd this match would actually have really suited him because he is accurate. I mean, he is dang accurate, and he's quick with the transitions, and so he can do throttle control really, really well.
Mm-hmm. That would be interesting to see. So Kenny Terry, if you're listening, which you're probably not, you should come shoot Area 5.
See if I can drag him out next year.
Give Browning and Shane Coley a run for their money.
Yeah, they had Coley had a rough match. Everybody on the Super Duper squad had a rough match.
It's okay. I'll say it here. Shane was playing babysitter.
Oh.
And no one ever shoots good when you are playing babysitter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
True facts.
We'll talk about who he was babysitting.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah. So,
anyway.
but then there was, we'll skip 13 because I think everyone's heard enough about 13. But we'll go to
13 sucked.
I mean, it was totally an accuracy stage. Steve Koski would like it.
Steve Koski would have gotten his lunch handed to him.
Yeah, you think so?
Well, he's shooting a Glock.
Hey, I shoot a Glock. I was just an asshole.
No, Robert, you're failing to realize that Koski's pulling bullets from all the bullets he's ever picked up off the ground to go to this match.
Half of them have crimp rings on it. No.
Oh, it's a 38 Super Comp. It'll fit in my Glock.
It'll work.
You just have to shorten the overall length.
Yeah. Just pick them up off the ground. 14. I don't know. I saw one person do one different stage plan on 14. Everyone else pretty much ran it the same way, other than the sequence in the back.
Yeah, I saw people shoot. There was It was an open. I'm actually looking at it here. There was an open tuxedo open that you could see from two different spaces. You could either shoot it all the way at the back or like halfway between the stage. I saw some people take it halfway between. I saw other people take it at the end. I don't honestly think it was that big of a deal.
No, I don't think so. But I will say, if you're better at shooting and then running, that might be more advantageous than taking those targets sooner. Because if you can run all the way to the end and shoot really fast, I think you save a little bit of time.
Right.
But the only one person I saw do a different stage plan was they were in front of the array of three. They stood right there. They stepped backwards into the shooting area, did popper, open paper, max trap. 3 array, 2, reload, paper. It might have been, it was like paper, steel, tux, slanty, and then cleaned up the middle. So then they did paper, tux, paper, steel.
That just seems overly complicated.
To defeat a middle position. Yeah.
Yeah, that just seems overly complicated.
That's too much.
Now I'm digging through to see how that person actually did.
That was your stage that you worked.
Yes, that was my stage.
Right on. How did you like working it?
It was fine, other than we had one reshoot on your guys' squad because Kenneth pasted early. It was funny because the other guy pasted early for one of his runs.
Yeah.
So I guess it's karma's a bitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
But which was weird. You had two guys shooting staccatos in your squad.
Yeah.
As open minor.
Yeah, one of them was doing it from appendix. That was what was his name? I forgot his name now. But
it's Norwegian.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was the other guy who was left-handed.
Magnus, something like that.
Yeah. And he was left-handed. And I was like, what the fuck? Well, no, were they both left-handed? They
Yes, they were. They were both left-handed. That's right.
Left-handed left.
We lost the aggregate score because of those two staccato shooters. They just need a little bit more points.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I liked the stage. We had 3 issues with the popper on the middle of after lunch on day 1 on Friday.
Right.
First time it got sand in it. Second time was a piece of frag. was in the popper, and then the third time it actually had like failed where the spring had loosened up too much from being impacted. So then instead of the forward faller going backwards and then forward, the spring would act when it went backwards. The spring would go down and hold the popper.
Oh, okay.
So after that, we were able to monitor it, and it's like, oh, we only had to fix it. We didn't have any reshoots on Sunday because we were able to watch it at that point, and be like, okay, we're good.
Right.
So other than that, the worst part was it was on the Super Squad. We had 3 reshoots because of it.
You're kidding.
Oof.
Oh,
Oof.
that just made them happy.
Well, dude, that was the worst part. Is the problem is that a 30-minute turn was an hour for them.
Oof.
Oof.
That's a long stage.
Mm-hmm. Well, and calling for scoring calls. I mean, it's part of the game, right? Everyone gets their rights to a scoring call, which is fine.
Right.
But if there's no evidence, there's no evidence. Like,
right.
Like we can't argue here all day. And I mean, I could pull this target and you could stare at it all day, but I ain't got time for that.
Right.
So, but that stage was nice. I was a dumbass and reloaded after leaving the first position. So coming up to after the 5 paper in the front, I reloaded for some reason and then had a malfunction and then ran out of ammo. So I was shooting at a head box on the max trap.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I didn't hit a no shoot though, so it was okay.
Oh, yeah, unfortunately. Fortunately, it was a very generous head box. So, I mean, that was at least nice. By that match's standards, I should say, it was a very generous head box.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, we forgot to mention on 7 there was a no shoot behind the paper for on 7's max traps.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Guys are all
That's a
jerks.
complicated. That's a complicated scoring call when you had that bobber no shoot. Like if you hit the perf on the tuft itself, like you actually get both hits, people.
Yeah, surprisingly, only one person shot the max trap on 14's no shoot, and that was on Sunday. Everyone else who shot it was on staff day. So it says staff suck at shooting no shoots.
I suspect by the time staff got to 14, they were probably like, "Can we just go to 15 and call it a day?"
Probably, but that's interesting. What did you guys think of the fixed time short course?
It was fun. It was really fun.
Go through your thought process.
Well, like the problem was John shot first on that stage, and so like he goes and lays down and basically shoots everything, and he has about a second to spare. But admittedly, this is John, so he basically Charlie delted everything, so he had 40 points. Meanwhile, you had people that just ran up and they just shot the stuff in the back, and they beat him on points. And so it's kind of one of those things. But I really liked it because I think that stage more than any other stage had people actually think, like asking the questions. How are you going to shoot it? How are you going to shoot the stage? Do you think you can actually shoot it in the 7.5 seconds that you have to shoot the stage? And it seems to me somebody was mentioning that they really worked with that stage hard to try and figure out the right timing so that it could be done, but it was going to cause you to push. When I shot it, I shot all the open paper and I left all of the partials. And I finished with 7.49 seconds when it beeped out. And I'm like, cool, I'm done. And
the stage is perfect.
Oh yeah. It was a really interesting stage. A lot of people talked about it. I think as many people talked about that fixed time stage as the horrible stage 13.
Yeah. No. This stage was more than fair. Like when I went through it, this whole thing is about time perception. And how many times have you gone through a stage and you're starting to shoot at something, and for whatever reason, this anxiety kind of creeps up about how I'm slow, so I'm gonna shoot faster, I'm gonna miss harder, and I'm gonna keep shooting at it. And this stage highlighted that without steel. It's all about understanding what you can do and knowing your own personal timing in navigating through this fixed time stage.
Mhm.
So everyone was like trying to, in the pregame, like it was funny how there would be a crowd of people in front of stage 15 the day before, and they're like on their stopwatch trying to time it, going, okay, dude, on go, I'm gonna hit go. And they're already starting to pre-build this um, impractical engagement time period that they could never do. And they're giving themselves up like, yeah, I can do this within 7 seconds. And they shoot it and they'll never do it. So it's like from here kind of highlights, can you mentally organize in your brain time perception and knowing that you're going to make it through a stage as much as this is fixed time, but then also on regular stages, not to over pressure yourself on just executing what you need to execute.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I would agree. That now this fixed time was an interesting one, at least to the fact that there was two distinct plan. Like there was at least two distinct plans. It's either you fuck with the first array, or you just go to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've dabbled with fixed time a little bit in the season, and it's like it was like you thwack at this paper and then you go down there. But this one was I just took the easy option and ran to the front and got my 36 points.
Yeah, and I shot it. I shot what I shot it, and I got 38 points. John shot everything and got 40.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can see that there were a bunch of different ways to shoot it, and all of them had value. And if John could have, hooked up just a little bit cleaner, he would have done that much better because his stage plan was clearly superior in terms of how he shot it. But he pulled out the elite Delta Force
Mm-hmm.
and he rolled through it. But it was very interesting. I mean, like Candace had posted on Instagram how she shot it and her rationale behind it. And you're like, okay, that makes sense. There's a lot of logic to that. But then, John goes and does it and he cleans it. And you're like, okay, well, thanks for laying the hammer down. And John Bautista, the real hammer. And so everybody in the squad's like, well, crap, now I got to do it or I'm going to look like a little baby. But yeah,
Balls, Robert. Balls.
all about the balls. But no, when I got into it, I mean, I started shooting at it and I'm like, I'm going to go for just the opens. It just makes sense. And yeah, there you go. I had three no penalty mics, but I had 38 points.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the whole thing. Like, it shows what you can absolutely do, and like at the raw speed you need. I wish the shooting area was just a little bit bigger because I felt it was pretty fucking tight to that corner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that fault line was just like 6 inches, maybe half a foot too close. Too
Mhm.
close.
Yeah, because I actually had to. When I left the start stick, I had to run outside the shooting area. Like
okay.
I ran through the shooting area and then up, but I had to. I used my wide ass and zoomed around the corner.
Got you. Did you shoot everything and have time at the end, or did you time out? Did you essentially hit your time?
I probably had a second and a half, maybe.
Okay.
But
okay.
I'd rather just. I've had bad experiences with fixed time, and it's like I need points. I can't have penalties. Like, and that's where your points go away is when you have extra hits, extra shots, and it's a pain in the ass.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, two targets, both with Delta, are less than one of those targets with an Alpha.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to start playing that math. And on a fixed time, you need the points. It has nothing to do with the time. You can't go and hide that in hit factor math. You've got to have the points. And so you can burn the stage down, but if you have deltas and everything, then how much did you accomplish? Because you're one delta, you're going to have to shoot 4 more targets with deltas to get what one good alpha is going to be. It's interesting math.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure. That is true. I enjoyed this match too. Besides the fact that I had to drive 50 minutes to get there.
Did you actually stay in the match hotel or did you stay?
One night I did go home, but then every other night I stayed in the match hotel.
Right on.
But
how was that?
I mean, besides drinking bourbon, whiskey, or beer outside the lobby of the hotel under their carport all week, yeah, it was quite nice.
Oh, nice. No,
Yeah.
What'd you drink?
What? Somebody bought some whiskey at one of the restaurants in Jackson that they make, so that was good. Some summer shanty. They had that's one that was, I don't know who, same brand, same person who makes that had a thing called Juicy Peach. That was good too. What else did we have? Oh, we had some Shine. That was kind of good. So
Cool.
yeah. So it was always fun. We were just sitting there bullshitting. Like one night we were up till like 1 o'clock talking about what the fuck were we talking about? I don't know. It was interesting, but now I can't remember about it because I was like
Four drinks in, like, oh
yeah, I'm going to bed. That's the worst part. It's like I'm ready for bed, fuckers.
Yeah. No, that's half the fun of being ROs is just hanging out with the other ROs, and because you don't have to do anything. I mean, you can actually go out, have a good meal, just hang out, stay up late. Your match is over, so you just get to like show up in the morning, have a great time, see all the people, and yeah, it's a lot of fun to be an RO every once in a while.
Well, really it is. Enjoy it. And if you think about it, those are the people who actually give a flying fuck about how the sport is.
100%.
They're the ones giving up. I gave up a whole week, Tuesday through Sunday to be at the match. Like, yes, I lived close, but still.
Doesn't matter. You still gave up a lot of vacation time to do that. And that's a big
the
dang
lead
deal.
Up too. The lead up, like, you're not talking about that week. You guys were prepping for this months before, checking like all the poppers, checking target sticks. Like, this does not happen within a week. This takes at least 2 months to make sure everything is decently okay. Then you check it again to see what we missed, and then you're like panicking because, oh my god, we forgot about these poppers, and you're still fixing stuff to provide like people like Robert and myself, who's like not in town, to go, hey, this is our range, like this is our home. I want to show off like what we got over here and make sure that you come back, which is another thing that's forgotten.
Yeah, and yeah, it's definitely, there was a lot of work. Ken, the match director, put a lot of extra time in by himself. Like, he'd go on days that he got out of work at a decent time, he'd go over there and go do something. Like, well, I'm gonna go put all the walls up on this bay. So, but we do have a great benefit, is that we can put walls up in fault lines and target stands and movers on those 10 events bays that the club can't use. Like, the general public can't touch those unless you're participating in an event.
Okay, that is handy. That's way handy because it gives you so much more flexibility to build stuff. It's certainly not the week before when, like slips of like the range is like, okay, fine, you can finally use it, and you're just mad rushing to get everything done.
Yeah, and then you're there every night. At least then you can do it like, oh, well, 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, we're going to start setting up 5 of these bays. The next week, you're going to set up the other 5. The week before the match, you probably already have the other 5 done because it doesn't take you that long. Well, and the nice part was in the upper bays, they had supplies there. We store up walls up there. We store fault lines and target stands. And so it's not like you had to drive the whole tractor with all the supplies up to the upper bays. They still had things pretty close.
So, right.
So I can't complain. We did put a lot of work in. Ken put a lot of work in. You missed the award ceremony where he botched some people's names. I mean, and that's the worst part, right? Like, you get a lot of like you read the tablet, you're like, who's the shooter? For someone tell me who the shooter is. And then I can figure it out. Well, and I want to honestly get like a name tag or something, like a necklace that says, if I screw up your name, I'm sorry.
There's a lot of folks with and maybe it's just me, with Asian names, and I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, I don't even know how THG is pronounced, and I'm sorry.
Yeah. But
usually when you're the RO and that happens, you go through it and you're like, John alphabet.
Alphabet. But I mean, isn't your last name spelled like the wrestler's last name?
Heck yeah, man.
Okay, so I mean, it's not terrible. So people have seen John's last name.
Yeah, it's just there's some of those names that you struggle. It's just a giant struggle, and you just look at them and you're like, I mean, no disrespect, help me out, and I'll try and get it right for you.
It's like I'm reading this one. No disrespect, zing-a-lang, zang. You're up to shoot.
Well, and interesting enough, our first squad on Saturday was the Marine Corps shooting team.
Okay.
So everyone's got their last name on their jersey. So it's like, all right, we're going weird here. We're going last name. Well, we're reading off the last names because they know who they are. One guy, like Josh Carnita, it says his name in practice score is Cardi B.
Cardi B. Yeah.
And they were all giving him crap. But it was interesting enough. The whole Marine Corps shooting team was shooting red dots except for their major. So the guy in charge of the young children was shooting limited.
Boomer's gonna boom.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he wasn't that old, but yeah, he was definitely the one who was like, I have to corral them.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember his name. He's a nice guy. I've talked to him a couple times now.
I like I said, I'm gonna botch his name probably.
Oh man, what's his name?
No.
It doesn't matter, but yeah.
Yeah. He was a good Hitchak. Hichak. Timothy.
Yeah. Hijack.
Yeah, there you go.
But no,
Yeah.
so I think I'd come back if it was there again. No, and it should be. So I talked to somebody. They said that you guys try and hang on to the ranges twice for every 2 years.
And this is something that Rick has done for us. He has cited area matches and typically sectional matches are every 2 years.
It's a 2-year commitment because the first year you're trying to break even, and the second year you'll make some money that the club can use for infrastructure.
Yep, exactly.
And I talked to him at the match just a tiny bit. Very, very nice guy. And he explained that, and I was like, that I never thought of that, but it's pretty clever.
Right. Instead of floating it around.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to detail a little bit more, guys, like for those who are not in the administration of these major matches, like most times ranges will lose money to make this match happen. And if you do make money, all you're doing is refreshing a lot of the equipment. So you might get new poppers, you might get money to replace all your walls, but there isn't like a honeypot that the club can like call on for any major match at the end of the day. Like you're barely paying off of the RO or trying to provide expenses so you can have ROs to come stay reasonably comfortable to work the match.
Yeah, the RO is the single greatest expense that you'll actually have to field for a match.
Well, and even like for us, like they comped our hotel unless we stayed in if we stayed in a single room, we had to split halvesies. Great staff dinner. The staff prize table was nice. I will say there was a lot of guns on the table.
I got a goodie bag. I don't know if they did like prizes after or whatever.
No, you got a shooter's bag essentially. I think that's what it happened out to be.
I have to say, I mean, whoever was building those shooter bags, I have to say, mega props. It was so choice that you gave a carry optic shooter a 9mm or a 40 caliber bore snake, because nothing says I love you like giving a carry optics guy who's shooting minor a 40 Smith & Wesson bore snake.
So you'll de-lead the barrel when you pull it through. You'll de-lead it.
There you go.
Dude, I'll de-lands and grooves the barrel.
So what did John pull?
Oh God! I got a Red Hill Tactical holster.
Oh, there you go.
RHT holster. Yeah.
Oh, but
sorry, don't misunderstand me. It's very nice to get anything. I think that's fantastic. I don't care about the prizes. I really don't. I just think it's really funny when you get something that's like somebody clearly didn't actually look on the site. Let's say Robert Wyatt carry optics. Maybe we should give him a 45 caliber bore brush.
Yeah, I mean, and then I was going around the bays right after the match, after everyone had left. I'm like, is there anything like any cleaning supplies still on these tables? And guess what was left? The 40-45 bore snakes.
Yeah, but it's okay. But I mean, it's pretty cool though. I mean, Hoppies is so good about sponsoring matches and stuff like that. I mean, although why in the world did they stick gun cleaning wipes on the safe table? Of all things.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, you're sitting there thinking, oh, cool, it's de-lead wipes, something that would be useful.
Mm-hmm.
No. You got like lubricant wipes all over. It's just like, I was like,
Hey,
I kind of
we
questioned that a
needed that,
tiny bit.
Robert. We needed that. So Manny, during our whole match period, it was kind of a running joke how Robert and I had our like little bingo board of like what you'll see at the match,
Oh yeah.
and we damn near hit every single possible thing, minus a DQ on our bingo board. Like
Dude,
drop. Like speaking
there
about
was
Hoppy,
only
hops.
3 DQs at that match.
Yeah, only three DQs. Like we had a guy dropping a gun on our on our squad. Yeah,
Not during
that happened.
not during the shooting. It just dropped.
Right. It was
Yeah, during the walkthrough.
it was a dead gun at that point.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So the wipes were needed, Robert. The wipes were useful. Thank you, Hops, for supporting us in our endeavors.
So actually there was four.
Oh.
So 2 PCCs, a new one was an out of battery detonation.
That does happen, unfortunately.
That happens.
Well, especially with that floating firing pin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then one was a guy bumped to the wall on 8 when he was coming off the platform. And then
okay.
the other one was on, there was one that was, he was running on stage 5 and he went, whoopsie.
I know who that is.
Yeah.
I know who that is, actually.
And then there was another PCC shooter, but I don't know how how that one happened. So,
well, I mean, that's actually one of those things that you think about. I mean, usually you're going to have like 5 to 10% attrition rate on DQs across a major match. You have 300 shooters, you're going to have quite a few DQs. The fact that they only had 4, that's really good. That's like really good.
And you had 4 people who went sub minor or for no score, so they equaled out.
Yeah. That just makes you feel bad for the world, but it is what it is, I suppose.
So out of 289 shooters, only 4 people didn't finish the match.
Ouch. Well, clearly those people
that's actually
learned
good.
a lesson. It's a really good. So for you, Manny, those people have clearly learned a lesson about what not to do with their gun. For you, what is a lesson or something that you took away from this match as a shooter, and then one as an RO? Let's go 2 different ways.
Okay, so as a shooter, it's definitely give myself the appropriate mental focus on the stage. So that's even the visualization, but just giving it myself the actual like the best mental prep I can. Like if it's every shooter, I'm like, okay, I'm doing my fake walkthrough as I'm as I'm standing there with them, and not necessarily being super serious, but making sure I do those reps. Because my best stage is when I had the best mental focus prior to the beep.
You know what's really funny though? You said something about that stage though. Like, what was in your head before you shot the stage? Like, it was your last stage, right? Like, so what did you say to yourself?
Well, I mentally knew, I was like, I got to put something down that's like respectable of my skill level, right? So I went and that's what it was. I told myself, get low. So I'm shooting the 2 paper steel, and then I'm on the move low, shooting these 2 targets to come to the popper. So that's all I was really thinking about on that stage, is then making sure that all connected and then boogied. But yeah, I don't know. I liked that stage.
Makes sense. But as an RO, then what was something that you learned as an RO?
Something that I learned as an RO is, now I got to think about this for a second, because I did learn a lot of different things about watching, what you need to watch for on a stage, right? Like what am I thinking about for production? I got to count some rounds as I'm watching them, break the 180. I'm watching feet, having the timer, the blue brick angled just enough so you can see that it's picking up shots. Because this honestly is my second major match that I've RO'd, and my 3rd major match I've actually shot. So it was nice. It was refresher. But there was a lot of different things. People's make readies and how long people make ready. Scheming.
So we had a debate about that actually. So I think on the Paracast something we were in other talks. IDPA has what, a 15-second like get ready process, Robert? Is that right?
Yep. That's about it. About 15 seconds. And then they say, are you ready? If not, you have about 15 seconds more. And if not, they say, here's your 3-second penalty. Unload and show clear.
So what if there was like a process of like a 30-second maximum? Like same thing, like IDPA kind of, but you had 30 seconds. The second someone says make ready, the clock starts. And then at around that 30-second mark, the RO is going to say, are you ready? And at that point, if you're not, stage procedural,
Hmm.
if it's excessive of some sort. And then if you do it again, you DNF for people who abuse it, really,
Right.
at the end of the day, if there's a long term. What do you think about that?
How I feel about it is I guess I don't mind a minute timeline of being on the line, but I'm also not going to tell you make ready until you're like looking at me like ready to make. It's not like you're zooming around on the stage still, and I'm not going to tell you to make ready. I'm going to be like,
Sure.
okay, he actually looks ready, so we're going to tell him to make ready. Because some people are really big on as soon as the last RO, the guy in the brick, as he's coming back up the stage after he's checked everything,
Mm-hmm.
they come around as you're coming around their body. You're getting the make ready. You know, like, so if I can describe this, so this is the shooter. The staff is coming back, right? Like,
Yeah.
so they'll sometimes say make ready as they're kind of arching around you instead of like being in position. I'd much rather be in that position and then tell you to make ready. But there are a lot of people who are a little excessive with their how many times they had to draw the gun, stepping into the position. It was like, okay, I understand a rep or two, not 5.
Like
or how
Eamon. Yes.
or how many
Like you mean.
draws you need. I honestly think if we had a minute, you need to make ready in a minute. I think is acceptable because that's plenty of time to make sure your dot's good, draw the gun, even rack the gun, and then like get a legit trigger press for a striker fired folk. And then load the gun, top it off, put it back in the holster, and then do one visualization or one final. Yeah, click, click, bang, 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 pop, pop, bing, bing, bang, bang.
Right.
And then assume the position. So that's what I'd say. I'd say about a minute. And honestly, we were doing 30-minute turns other than when we ran the super squad.
Yeah, but they have their own can of worms.
Right. They did. It was a whole bunch of can of worms. But like I said, 30-minute turns when you're predicting 45 and everyone still had, and it still had what, 12 shooters per squad. There was a lot of people who didn't show up, but which was really annoying because they weren't out of the tablet, but that was easy because everyone said, oh, so and so's not here. All right, cool. Until you start calling them repeatedly, right?
That's true. That can get annoying.
Yeah. But yeah, so honestly, I have one complaint of the match. You can agree or disagree. Is that there was honestly, I don't think it mattered if it was starting anywhere inside or anywhere outside.
Wait, what do you mean?
Because there was a lot. Most 95% of the stages were starting anywhere completely both feet outside the shooting area. I don't necessarily think changing it or keeping it that way would actually make or break the stage. Because either way, it could have been a wash.
No, I agree. Because like we're talking about like administrative starts, like you have to put your toes in the box or toes on marks or hands on marks. It ends up becoming more of a pain in the ass to make sure everyone's starting the exact same way. That's why the fixed time stage, that stick, it was like feet on marks. And that was arbitrary, but that was perfect because you get to figure out which way you like. As long as your foot's there, we're okay. Just don't have any space. But if there's a specific hand position or foot position, that's where like more inconsistencies actually can start on equitable starts between all shooters.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you. Doesn't really matter, but I preferred it.
Fair enough. You guys have any final remarks before we get off here?
No. I think it was a good match. I think I would come back to it. They did well. You guys did really well for yourself. You should be proud.
Woohoo!
Yeah, keep it the same time period, man. I'll be here next year. 100%.
We will. I think it's either going to be the last weekend of July, or the last weekend, or the first weekend of August, depending on when the race is. So, but we'll know sooner when it gets closer to the date. So, well, by the end of the year, hopefully. So,
Nice.
well,
Nice.
guys, I appreciate you guys coming on. It's been a blast. It's been a long one, but it's been worth it. So, I want to thank you guys for coming on. It's been fun. John, we'll actually have to get you back on and do a single show too. So,
Sure, anytime.
all right. So to the listeners, I want to thank you guys for checking out this episode. Until next time, get out and do the things, and I will see you on the next one.